Alright, I need to keep going with these videos even though it's been too long of a layoff. So here's another threshold question I feel I should answer. Why be a cosmopolitan chud? Well, and the easy and short answer is that I didn't plan to turn out this way. I don't think anybody would want to be a cosmopolitan chud, looking at things from the beginning. But that's kind of how I've turned out. And I got the idea for the phrase, it's somebody else's phrase. Somebody on Twitter about 6 months ago, he posted something. He was like, gosh, I wish I could remember exactly what he said, but basically, with how the Republican Party has become the big tent party in the United States, there have been so many purity spirals and kind of virtue signaling contests and excommunications, etc., among the left ever since about 2014. And it's all kind of accelerated since then. There are ebbs and flows since 2020, because sometimes they understand they've got to kind of rein it back in a little bit. But for the most part, it's basically let's virtue signal all the time. And if you're not virtue signaling to the max about the current thing, you're a bad person, you're on the other team, you need to either grovel or in whatever other way abase yourself before the leftist mob. And then maybe you can live in peace with whatever scraps the leftist mob wants to give you. All right? So obviously that doesn't work for me. I can't be part of that coalition. But I have the misfortune of being a well-educated white man in America in 2026. So growing up, I was always around politics, I guess you could say. It was always something interesting, and I guess it kind of... Politics is one of those issues that's very attractive to youthful grandiosity. When you're young and and we're going to change the world. I mean, we're just such good people. And I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, our ancestors, how could they be so bad? And I mean, if they, just had my sort of consciousness and understanding of the world, how much better everything would be. Right? So politics really was attractive to me at that age, and being cosmopolitan was really attractive to me at that age. One of my greatest hobbies and interests of my entire life has been studying foreign languages. I just thought foreign countries were the coolest thing. The idea that they had all sorts of different things that we didn't have here, and they had a whole different language and a whole different way of viewing the world. Whenever you're studying the grammar of a foreign language, you really do discover a new way of interpreting the world as it exists, in the simplest and the biggest ways, A simple way would be, okay, this language likes to do subject, object, verb, rather than subject, verb, object in its sentence pattern. English really loves subject, verb, object. Some other languages are different with that. And then you've got kind of annoying ones like Spanish and French that kind of play around with it. So there'll be subject, object, verb if it's a pronoun, because that's a little bit more ancient of a form of a noun. And Latin was very, very subject, object, verb. And so French, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, they keep this with respect to the pronouns. Well, anyway, that's a total tangent. I don't know if anybody would be interested in that. But it speaks to why I have become a cosmopolitan chud and why this path is attractive to me, I guess. Attractive is probably a pretty strong word. But, it's more attractive than other paths in front of me today. The path of the cosmopolitan chud. And I still haven't finished talking about that guy on Twitter and what he said. So it was basically like, with Republicans becoming the big tent party and Democrats, basically forcing everybody with any sort of independent thought, anybody who doesn't want to just have, like, basically like the 10 commandments of what opinions they can have today handed down from on high, has moved over to the Republicans, or at least is hostile to the Democrats to some degree, because the Democrats are hostile to rational thought. The Democrats are hostile to authenticity. The Democrats are hostile to genuine scientific inquiry. The Democrats are hostile to many good things. So that makes us have to go to the right. And this guy basically said, because of what's happened with Democrats, we've got the rise of the Cosmopolitan Chud. So those were his words, and I read it. I thought, Cosmopolitan Chud. Like, it resonated with me so much. I've never identified so much with something someone has said. A Cosmopolitan Chud. That's me. That was me. I thought that as soon as he said that. Like, I am one of these cosmopolitan chuds who has been forced by the virtue signaling, the purity spirals, all the inauthenticity, all the lies, all the self-righteousness. And they forced me over to the right. They forced me right over. I mean, to the point where you have to question everything. That's the thing. Once you start questioning what the Democrats have done and all the dumb stuff, you're not going to stop questioning. And I mean, we could do videos on videos about all of that. But that's basically the nutshell of it. Why be a cosmopolitan chud? Because it's authentic. Because it's honest. This is who I am. This is who I am. I mean, what can I do? I've got two things in this world. I've got two legitimate advantages, or, I don't know, attractive characteristics. I probably have more than just two, and this is a bit of a joke, but I really have two good characteristics. I've got philosophical depth, and I've got a very hot body. All right, that's it. Philosophical depth and hot body. That's Pierce Smith, Cosmopolitan Chud. And that's all I want to be. All right? That's all I want to be. And I don't know. Why be a cosmopolitan chud? And why be one publicly? Well, hopefully. Well, one aspect is kind of the Matthias Desmet aspect. Matthias Desmet. Let me try my Dutch accent. So he's a great psychologist, I would say. I've read his book on psychological research methods. I thought it was very interesting. I've also read his book on the psychology of totalitarianism. Very interesting and insightful. One of the best books to come out of the COVID-19 pandemic. And Matthias Desmet, he basically says that it's important for people with dissident voices, like a cosmopolitan chud, just to speak them, to put them out in the world. Because these propagandistic efforts of the left, mass formation, basically, they rely on the repetition of suggestions, repetitions of hypnotic suggestions. Yes, we are all exposed to hypnotic suggestions every day of our lives. And we are all to some degree susceptible to these hypnotic messages, these hypnotic suggestions. Now, Matthias Desmet, he builds on the work of a man named Gustave Le Bon, a French intellectual who was working towards the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. And Gustave Le Bon, in his book, The Crowd, I believe it's called, the English translation, basically he talks about this, the repetitive suggestions, and that this is really key to crowd psychology and propaganda. And Le Bon, he was really the first one with this, but Matthias Desmet, he's built on what Le Bon had to say quite a bit. And so in the Desmet way, I'm trying to just, while I still enjoy the right of free speech, and it could be taken de facto or de jure from me at any time. Okay, maybe not today because President Trump is in office, but if the Republicans lose in 2028, like my free speech could be out the window. Okay, so I'm going to still exercise it while I can. And under that Matthias Desmet, Gustave Le Bon framework, basically just having any dissident voices out there to kind of break the hypnotic suggestions. Because if you're getting that hypnotic suggestion repeated again and again and again, and there are no contrary suggestions, no contrary vocal expressions to stimulate your mind, like you will fall into that propagandistic message. Safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective. You know, I mean, and they will just repeat it again and again and again and again. And so how many people that you're talking to on a daily basis, the person you're talking to is not actually speaking to you. All you are hearing are the repetition of the hypnotic suggestions that have been effective on them. So that's a key reason why I want to publicly be a Cosmopolitan Chud, to whatever degree that I can, just to break up those hypnotic suggestions, or to in some way throw a spanner in those works. Because it's key. I mean, we have to be counter-messaging and counter-signaling the propagandistic messages that are going to continue to come out of the left. They don't stop. They don't have any deeper beliefs or deeper endeavors, personal endeavors to devote themselves to. They have one endeavor: destroy your country. And I mean, in their mind, we're trying to bring about a revolution. It's going to be fair for everyone. There's going to be justice for everybody. Okay, I remain skeptical, okay? But anyway, so that's a key reason. And that's basically the main reason. The other reason is, obviously, I got to put myself out there a little bit more. Like, I love leisure. I love to just read my books, man. I love to just do my workouts, go to the pool, things like that, man. Like, that is what I love. I love leisure, and I mean, part of the reason why I'm such a solitary guy is because I love solitude. I love to be alone with my books, to think about different ideas. But I've got to, or I feel some duty or some sort of obligation, a moral obligation, really, that, you know, what's the point of reading all these books, etc., if I don't ever try to articulate it with my own voice, and I don't ever try to at least express something, even if it is just howling into the void in some respect. But I think, just for me, I guess it also reduces the distance between my daily habits and my ego ideal. My ego ideal, to the extent that I consciously understand it, you know, it's going to involve some things about, you know, being smart or being a good athlete, you know, to whatever extent I can with respect to both of those things. It's going to involve being a good person, you know, satisfying my conscience. All of that is going to be tied up in my ego ideal. What is the ideal that I view for myself? And publishing these sorts of videos, you know, as imperfect as they are, does to some degree reduce that distance between my daily habits and my ego ideal, because at least I'm putting myself out there in a somewhat courageous way. I mean, it's not super courageous, right? It doesn't affect my daily life, at least yet, but in a way, it's a latent risk that I'm putting out into the world because, oh my gosh, some leftist is going to find it and then do whatever they will do, you know, and that is a risk. Like, we're all, that's why they've been so effective in censoring people and in manufacturing a discourse that they view as beneficial to themselves, because they're out there putting everybody else in fear of speaking the truth. So it's important to be a Cosmopolitan Chud, and to proudly be a Cosmopolitan Chud, and to loudly be a Cosmopolitan Chud. And I thank you very much for watching. This is Pierce Smith, Cosmopolitan Chud.